Next, Channel 4 News, recorded earlier this evening as a special service for our late-night viewers.
From KDFW TV, Dallas-Fort Worth. Steve Bosch, Clarice Tinsley, Larry Dingmore in the weather station, and Ted Dawson on sports. This is Channel 4 News, the 10 o'clock reports.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us.
Clarice and Steve had the night off. A cost-cutting commission tonight is recommending the closing or realignment of 145 military installations. Texas has several installations on the list, but the only casualty is the reserve home port planned for Galveston. Channel 4's Don Johnson has more about the recommendations and their impact on Texas.
Norton Air Force Base, with 7,000 employees, is the biggest base targeted by the Bipartisan Commission. So, too, are picturesque Presidio and Fort Dix, boot camp to many a soldier.
It's a shock to me because I thought that it will never happen.
All told, the Commission recommends closing all or part of 91 bases and realigning dozens more for a savings of $693 million a year.
If a base had military value, then we didn't bother it.
President-elect Bush had little reaction as he finished his Texas hunting trip.
When I get to be president, then I'll be coping with base closings. But I'll say this: we're going to have to do some of that.
In Texas, the recommendations would affect 8 installations. 6 would gain, while 2 would lose. The big loser, Galveston, where a reserve home port under construction would be scrapped and the city repaid for its share.
Halting a project in the middle of construction is not going to be a very cost-effective move by the federal government.
And Fort Bliss in El Paso would see its basic training mission shipped out to South Carolina. On the upside, 5 Texas installations would see personnel increases, and the home port in Ingleside would gain funding and equipment. Texas lawmakers say the pluses outweigh the minuses.
Considering the fact that we had 44 different bases, military installations in Texas, we really dodged a bullet on this one.
And I think the implementation will be relatively painless and allow a reauthorization of the legislation in '95 so that we can take a sort of a second bite out of the apple.
Critics still charge the savings represent only a fraction of the Pentagon's budget. But Congress is expected to approve the recommendations because the winners outnumber the losers on both sides of the aisle. Don Johnson, Channel 4 News.
American Airlines says another bomb threat note was found today aboard a flight from Dallas-Fort Worth Airport to Richmond, Virginia. A spokesman says the note warned a bomb would explode when the plane reached a certain altitude. Flight 874 departed DFW Airport at 1 o'clock with 125 passengers on board, and it landed safely at Richmond. No bomb was found. Meanwhile, tonight, bomb threat charges against the University of California lecturer have been dropped. An 11-year-old San Francisco boy has admitted writing a note saying bombs were aboard an American Airlines flight to Dallas on Tuesday. The professor, 40-year-old Peter Canning, told authorities at the time that he had merely found the note and was giving it to a flight attendant. The Federal Aviation Administration announced today it is ordering tightened security for U.S. airlines at 103 airports in the Middle East and Western Europe. The measures include X-ray or physical inspection of all checked baggage and random physical checks of some carry-on baggage. An FAA spokesman says the stepped-up security will be effective within 48 hours and could cause some passenger delays. He also said the agency is requiring its domestic airports here in the United States to be vigilant as well.
American officials say they're confident they will find out who planted the bomb on board Pan Am Flight 103. Both President Reagan and President-elect Bush are talking tough on punishment. No matter which man is in power when the culprit is caught, some sort of retaliation is more than likely.
Seek hard and punish firmly, decisively those who did this, if you can ever find them.
What we want to do is find out who did it and bring them to justice. You bet.
Investigators have narrowed their search and are now confident the tragedy was the work of terrorists rather than common criminals. The next step is to target groups with a motive, the technology for plastic explosives, and a history of airplane sabotage. The bombing of Flight 103 has highlighted the difficulty of detecting plastic explosives.
The newest types are easy to hide and extremely powerful. Walt Hunter explains.
Children's modeling play. It might be the last thing you'd ever think of when they talk about terrorism and explosives, and yet experts say, forget the old images of sticks of dynamite burning. This is what the new plastic explosives look like. Soft, pliable, easy to hide, and officials say just this amount would be the equivalent of more than a box full of dynamite. What would the explosion look like? Well, take a look at this. This blast, caused by plastic explosives, is part of a U.S. Justice Department training course. David Troy, head of the Philadelphia office of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, says the new breed of explosives could be hidden in baggage or just about anywhere. You could take and put a block of it inside of a cigarette pack, a radio, a TV. I mean, your imagination is your only limit as to what you could do with a small amount of plastic explosive. Troy says the plastic explosives come by different names, but as this tape explains, they all have a common effect.
C3. C4. Flex X.
Knitting needles with the yarn in them has been an explosive device. A loaf of bread has been an explosive device. It's up to the imagination of the bomber himself or herself.
Lieutenant Bill Markert heads the Philadelphia Police Ordnance Disposal Unit. In addition to detectors like this one at the airport for security, Markert now uses this dog and several others, trained to sniff out bombs. Watch now as the dog finds a fake bomb hidden in a car's gas tank by his handler. There's got to be some ways developed technologically to detect this new generation of explosive material that is so hard to detect and so easy to conceal. Like many of the newspaper articles said, if someone's willing to give their life, you can smuggle this type of material probably anywhere you want to take it, if you're willing to give your life in the process.
Another mishap for Eastern Airlines today, this time involving a plane more than 20 years old. A DC-9 carrying passengers from Georgia to South Carolina lost its brakes on landing. The jet skidded around 70 feet off the runway and into gravel. No one was hurt.
Cracks found earlier this week in two Eastern jets prompted airline officials today to call a press conference to try to quell fears about safety. Earlier this week, a 14-inch piece of fuselage tore away from an Eastern jet, forcing an emergency landing. A later inspection revealed a crack in another jet. Eastern says the cracks are common in many airplanes and not a sign that aging aircraft are unsafe.
Airplanes that are as old as 3 or 4 months, it is very routine to find cracks in those aircraft as well. So cracking and corrosion of airplanes is a integral part of operating jet transport category aircraft.
In addition to giving reassurances, Eastern says it is beginning a new inspection process to combat future mishaps.
And coming up next, thousands of cheerleaders strut their stuff in a national competition.
And to look at the Western heritage that keeps Cowtown prosperous. Stay with us.
This is where we make nice and soft bathroom tissue. This is our fluffing machine. The printing press. Our paper softener. The perfume department. If you're getting the idea that we don't add expensive perfumes and prints, you're right, because that doesn't make it any softer. And if it doesn't make it soft, it doesn't make it. Add nice and soft. Nice and soft. It's nothing but soft.
You can feel it, so strong, so true. You can feel it, so tender, so true. And it's moving you. You can feel it, so witty, so bright. So bright. You can feel it, so joyful, so light. You can feel it on Channel 4. You can feel it, the magical moment. There's excitement, ooh, it's electric. You can feel it in the air. It's a whole world of feelings, and we can take you there. You can feel it on Channel 4.
The The annual Texas Champions Rodeo returned to the Fort Worth stockyards tonight. The recent reemergence of Billy Bob's is yet another sign that Cowtown appears to be capitalizing on its Western heritage. Channel 4's Sheila Cooper reports.
The Western heritage of Fort Worth can't be denied. It can be witnessed year-round, from the throngs that fill the stockyards during June's Chisholm Trail Roundup.
The 1982 Reserve World Champion in rodeo.
To the December Texas Champions Rodeo. That cowboy history is also a moneymaker. Laverne Truelove will attend tonight's rodeo at the Stockyards Coliseum. She'll take back plenty of souvenirs.
Leather, like belts and saddles and things like that. They're a little bit more reasonable here than they are in my area, and you can get the hand-tooled leather belts and things here.
Its Western heritage is something Fort Worth calls its own, and in growing numbers, tourists from international visitors to high school basketball players are coming to Fort Worth to experience that unique flavor.
Every day we have people come and say they've traveled all over Texas, and this is what they wanted Texas to look like.
While the financial benefit of its Western heritage is felt strongly in the stockyards, the economic impact is not limited to that area. Fort Worth and the Metroplex as a whole gain from this unique history, one that translates rather easily into commercial value. Sheila Cooper, Channel 4 News.
For the last couple of days, over 4,700 cheerleaders from 30 states have been competing in the 1988 National Cheerleaders Competition. Here are the final standings for the Metroplex from the Dallas Convention Center. Junior Varsity Division national champions are Duncan High School. In the large varsity division, Duncan High School were runners-up, and Turner High from Carrollton took third place. Arlington High School took third place in the national championship division. And in the junior all-star division, Raiders of Arlington were runners-up, and the Mavericks Cheerleading Company of Arlington came in third. The national best cheerleader of 1988 is Monica West of Tulsa Union High School, Tulsa, Oklahoma. And Stacy Bishop of Arlington placed ninth. More than 300 members of the Duncanville High School Band left today for Los Angeles. The group is one of only 9 non-California high school bands invited to perform in the Tournament of Roses parade. It is also the largest, and the Duncanville delegation will get even bigger as parents and supporters leave for California in the coming days. Nearly 600 people will make the trip. And they'll probably have pretty nice weather for that trip, Larry.
I think so, because all the weather's out in that direction, and the not-so-nice weather is just about in our back door. We'll tell you how rainy tomorrow is going to be, and an outlook on the New Year's weekend coming up next. Well, so far this evening, we've been in and out of the clouds, but as the night wears on, the overcast will become more firm, and we'll expect it to be completely overcast by tomorrow morning. Here's the latest run of pictures across Texas, and you can see the eastern two-thirds, including our part of the state, are under the clouds, while West Texas continues to see drier weather. The surge of moisture from both the Pacific and also the Gulf of Mexico contributing to the cloudiness. So far, it's higher-level clouds, but by morning, we'll expect the low clouds to roll in as well. That as the storm system is beginning to anchor itself along the western Gulf, and it's already backed up the low cloudiness across South Texas such that the drizzle is falling from about Austin southward. We'll be too far north to see that, but this will pump the moisture in and give us a cloudy, rainy day throughout the day tomorrow as an upper-level rain trigger arrives from the west. One of two. The first one will be here tomorrow. The second one Sunday night, just in time to mess up the Cotton Bowl parade, it looks like. Here's a look at the 10 o'clock temperatures this evening, as 29 is one of the cooler places to be in Amarillo. Temperatures are in the 40s tonight across North Texas, with 50s and 60s down south. Considerably warmer than it was this time last night, and that due to the cloud cover. In the Dallas-Fort Worth area, skies remain mostly cloudy, 44 in Fort Worth with 43 in Dallas. The humidity at 60% with a southeast wind at 12 and the pressure at 15 inches of mercury and falling. Now, our daytime high was only 47 degrees, and temperatures are still in the mid-40s, so you can see how slow the cool-off is tonight. We saw a low this morning of 26, which is unusually cool for this time of the year, and no rainfall so far. Pollen counts at 213 grains per cubic meter of air, most of that fungus with minor amounts of ragweed and mountain cedar, barely enough to make you sneeze. And the air quality index for Dallas is at 25, make it 38 for Fort Worth. Those numbers by EPA standards are just fine. We turn to tomorrow's weather map, and what we'll expect to see are clouds, and as the day wears on, Increasing chances for rain, especially in the afternoon hours, as the storm continues in the east. By tomorrow evening, rain showers tapering off. Saturday will be into the clear skies. The next storm in the west will bring rain and snow there and arrive here late in the weekend. With the clouds, a cool day for Texas tomorrow with 40s and 50s. The monopoly on the warm weather will be in the southeast. Rest of the country pretty cool, especially up across the Canadian border states. Expect a high of only 22 in Minneapolis, St. Paul tomorrow with 46 in Denver, 38 in St. Louis, and 63 in New Orleans, among other locations for tomorrow afternoon. Here's our forecast. Cloudy skies tonight as we drop down to 35. We won't expect to freeze. Tomorrow, a 50% chance of rain and a high of only 48 with east-southeasterly winds. Sunshine for the last of 1988. For Saturday, 55. Increasing clouds Sunday, 58. Monday, 50 degrees with rain and 48 and partly cloudy on Tuesday. And that's the latest in weather.
But basketball is played indoors.
Yeah, that's why they do it.
The weather doesn't affect it, and it was a big night tonight for the Mavericks.
It sure was. We're going to get to that in just a second. Paul Crane comes up with sports, but first we want to tell you about two young French girls kidnapped by an Arab revolutionary group and held hostage in Lebanon for more than a year. They're free tonight. A 7-year-old girl and her 6-year-old sister were reunited with their father in Libya. And now they're back in France. They were abducted from a yacht along with their mother and 5 others who all still remain in captivity in Lebanon. And when we're talking about the Mavs doing well tonight, just how important is a superstar to an NBA franchise? Wow.
Larry Bird makes what? $1.8 million a year?
Double that next time.
Yeah, probably worth twice that now. We'll let you know what happens with the Mavericks and Celtics. And the Cotton Bowl getting ready for Monday. One kid is coming home.
This is it. I'm Gene Peterson telling you Kuppenheimer's fabulous year-end sale is on now. Kuppenheimer's entire stock of suits, sport coats, and slacks has been price slashed. Suits marked down as low as $88. Dress slacks as low as $14. Thousands of silk ties reduced to $5.90. It only happens once a year, so don't miss the incredible savings going on now at Kuppenheimer's fabulous year-end sale.
In Texas, it's the biggest sale of the year.
Right now, your Silver Star GMC truck dealers have their absolute lowest prices of the year.
On a great selection of Safari vans,
Sierra pickups,
Jimmy,
4x4s, even Suburbans.
Plus, now's your chance to save hundreds more with special factory rebates.
Special value packages and no payments till March 1989.
Plus, get more for your trade.
When the year ends, the sale ends.
We believe in saving you money.
At your Silver Star GMC truck dealers.
Make the room where you spend so much time making yourself more beautiful with Aurora bathroom tissue. Designed to enhance with delicate prints and highlight with soft embossed pastels and enough colors to dress any bathroom. In this room, Aurora creates beauty, just as you do. Aurora makes bathrooms more beautiful.
The Boston Celtics make their one Dallas appearance of the year tonight, and while the Mavericks come into the game with just one win ever over this team, without Larry Bird, it's a whole new ball game. Celtic head coach Jimmy Rogers would surely be getting gray hairs if he didn't already have gray hairs. The Mavericks tear his birdless team apart. Derek Harper, the drive, he scores as the Mavericks score 40 in the first quarter. Harper finds Roy Tarpley here. Good game for Roy, who comes in with 19 points. The Celtics, well, they add thousands to Bird's next contract each trip down the floor, it seems. Mark Aguirre at the end of this break, 22 for Aguirre. The Mavs lead 73-58 at halftime and have themselves a holiday feast. Rolando Blackman having the most, 32 for Rowe, as the Mavs get their second ever win, but first ever blowout over the Celtics. The final from reunion, Dallas 131, Boston 115. The best record in the Western Conference belonged to the Houston Rockets before playing the Bullets. Sleepy Floyd getting the chance to return to his old college floor where he hits a season-high 25 tonight. But the Rockets don't play like Georgetown on this trip, despite another big night at the office for Akeem, who scores 21 while grabbing 17 rebounds. But he can't stop John Williams here. Check this move. Williams somehow gets the ball to the hoop despite Akeem being in his way. Jeff Malone leads the Washington Charge with 31 points, 24 in the second half. Houston's 6-game winning streak is history. Washington wins it 126-109, while the Rockets and Mavs are now even atop the Midwest Division. In Chicago, it's the Knicks and Bulls, and check this first exchange out as Mark Jackson of the Knicks will try to get to the loose ball, but falls in the process, then gets it back, and sends a no-look pass from the floor to Gerald Wilkins. This game is back and forth all night, but you know which team has you-know-who. Michael Jordan scores 37, and the Bulls win by 2. The final, Chicago 108, New York 106. Sacramento King head coach Jerry Reynolds plans to rejoin his team at practice tomorrow after spending 2 days in the hospital after fainting during Tuesday night's game. Doctors indicate no heart problem, but Reynolds says he'll resign if it ever happens again. And the players involved in that fight Tuesday night are now doing just fine, thank you. Indiana's Scott Skiles fouling Milwaukee's Jay Humphreys, who doesn't like it. Wonder how he likes this. Humphreys gets $5,000 in fines, Skiles $3,000, and the people in those high-dollar sideline seats are the only ones getting more than their money's worth. The NFL playoffs continue this weekend, and when the Bengals take the field Saturday against Seattle, they'll have someone new calling the signal. So it'll still be Boomer Esiason, but the Cincinnati quarterback is today named the NFL's most valuable player. The Cotton Bowl comes Monday, and Arkansas's Barry Foster comes home. The sophomore from Duncanville doesn't have to wait long for the spotlight, which is definitely shining his way after that big game on national TV against Miami. But there's no place like home.
It just feels good to go home and play in front of your home crowd and just, see a couple of friends. I'm getting a lot of attention for the Miami game, and I'm seeing a lot of old friends, and I'm being with my family, so it's pretty exciting.
2 more bowl games played tonight. In the All-American Bowl, Florida leads Illinois 14-10 in the 4th, and in the Freedom Bowl, Colorado is leading BYU 14-7 in the 3rd. After tonight, it's 7 down and 10 more to go. And how about the basketball game in Norman tonight, if that's what you call this blowout? Texas A&M against Oklahoma. Sooners dominate everything. Mookie Blaylock at the end of this break, 28 for Mookie in this one, but Tyson Spinks was closer than this. Tyrone Jones will hit the three-pointer. He scores 32. The Aggies have had better luck with the NCAA than the Sooners. Michael Bell with a steal and score. OU wins 128-80, and in some ways it wasn't that close. Texas A&M came from behind to pull within 48 at the finish.
What a blowout.
Oh, it was big.
Thanks, Paul.
8 North Dallas families lost their homes to fire this afternoon. The fire allegedly started in a closet of one apartment and quickly spread throughout the rest of the building on Preston View Boulevard. No one was injured in the blaze, although one firefighter had a close call when a second-story balcony came down. Investigators are checking a report that a child playing with matches started the fire. The apartment manager is offering a vacant unit to anyone who wishes to stay, and the Red Cross is also offering help. Up next, if you don't have plans for New Year's Eve, we have a few ideas for you.
Everything from a romantic dinner for 2 to a night on the dance floor. Stay with us.
If you've been looking for a Japanese touring sedan but are bothered by their lofty prices, before you consider this Honda Accord DX, consider this. The Volkswagen Jetta. A comparably equipped German-engineered Jetta is priced over $1,000 less than the Honda. With so much for so much less, the only thing left to consider is a test drive.
Test drive a Jetta today at your Dallas Tarrant County Volkswagen dealers.
Good morning, I'm Walter Evans in the Channel 4 Newsroom.
Wake up with Walter Evans, weekday mornings at 6 on Channel 4 News.
Oh, about an hour and a half short of 48 hours from the arrival of 1989, and most people in one way or another will celebrate the new year.
The Metroplex offers a wide variety of events on New Year's Eve, from old-time rock and roll to Fabian to extravagant dinners cooked with gourmet flowers. Channel 4's Steve Stoller gives you some options.
The best of Dallas's restaurants have begun preparing for their special New Year's Eve dinners. At the Anatol's La Entrecôte, Chef Michel Bernard Plotz is working on what will be an 8-course gourmet feast. It includes everything from venison pâté to salmon with oyster flan.
Go with a cream of red snapper, and we will make some crab ravioli and some fried fennel.
Chef Plotz is known as the Flower King. His dishes are prepared with edible gourmet flowers. This 5-star culinary artist fantasy can be yours on New Year's Eve for just $85 per person.
I suppose people that want to go out on New Year's Eve, they are ready to spend some money, right? Otherwise, you spend it at home with a bottle of champagne with your wife or with your loved ones.
It's just a festivity, and I think once a year at least we should do that and just go for everything and forget whatever is left.
Other Metroplex restaurants and nightclubs, like the Supreme Court of Rock and Roll, the Hard Rock Cafe, are offering more traditional celebrations. The Hard Rock will feature dancing, a balloon drop, party favors, and a widescreen TV so you can watch the New Year's Eve countdown from New York's Times Square. And this year, it's free, no cover charge.
We didn't want to charge people to come in because we don't charge people to come in on the weekend. So this New Year's Eve is our gift to the city of Dallas.
If you don't want to go out on the town for New Year's Eve, you can celebrate the arrival of 1989 in the comfort of your own home. For under $10, you can get a cheap bottle of champagne and all the party favors you'll need to have a great time for the new year. Happy New Year. Steve Stoller, Channel 4 News.
Like your date, Steve. There appears to be some confusion. We've had conflicting reports from the national cheerleading competition, and we're going to try to clarify some things. We're not quite sure at this point whether Carrollton's R.L. Turner or Duncanville placed second. We do know we've had a lot of phone calls, but we congratulate both squads for placing and representing the area so well.
And now we'll find out from Larry if it's going to be a real cold breakfast tomorrow morning. I don't know about Steve. He probably, just...
Yeah, kind of real cool. Yeah, well, Steve, you'll be shivering like a chihuahua in the morning with 35 degrees, cloudy skies, and then after that, just have the umbrellas ready.
I don't know where Steve finds those dates, but that's our 10 o'clock report for this evening. Thanks for being with us, folks.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Channel 4 News was recorded earlier this evening.
Carol Thomas, working for you weekdays at 5 on Channel 4 News.